Hello, Seiiti Arata. Do not judge the quality of an idea by the person who had it. It is wrong to look down on an idea just because of the person who shared that idea or that person's story. It would be a mistake to make that judgment, and this mistake is increasingly prevalent in the cancel culture, invalidating an idea on account of the personal traits of the one who expressed that idea. In order to avoid making this mistake, you need to be intelligent enough to tell people and ideas apart. A great person can have an awful idea, and an awful person could have a great idea. And the fact that a great person endorses a great idea that is popularly associated with an awful person does not turn that great person into an awful person. Does that sound complicated? Let us see an example to make it clear. Even when you think that someone is awful, a bad person, it doesn't mean that all of their ideas are awful as well. For example, Thomas Edison is considered one of the greatest inventors of all time. He created the phonograph, he marketed the first successful cinematographic camera, he perfected the telephone and typewriter, and most importantly, he built the first marketable incandescent light bulb. Now, of course, he didn't do all of that on his own, alone. Inventors are often romanticized as eccentric geniuses who work completely alone. That's absolutely not the case, but that is a topic for another day. Today we need to understand that Thomas Edison was a human being, and just like any human being, he also had lots of flaws. And a couple of years ago, it became very popular to share some comics and articles that exposed Edison's flaws to the world, as well as the abusive attitude that he had towards his employees, towards animals, and towards the brilliant Nikola Tesla, his biggest rival. None of that was new. It has already been documented for many years in books, but the cartoons now and the internet gave rise to an extremely negative feeling against Edison. And 20 years ago, you see that Thomas Edison was considered to be a genius, and today, if you dare to mention the name Thomas Edison, it sounds like you're praising an awful person. We need to distinguish people from ideas. Imagine that you consider Thomas Edison to be an awful person, and then you learn that Edison stated that hard work, persistence, and common sense are important. What does that mean? Does it mean that hard work, persistence, and common sense are useless just because you don't like the person who said that? Then you believe that everything that they said is a lie? And if another person you truly admire says the very same thing, but without quoting, without attributing that idea to Thomas Edison, could changing the author of an idea make the quality of the idea change as well? Would you not be confusing theoretical concepts and feelings of love and hatred towards certain people? Learn to cultivate your ability to stay focused on the quality of ideas, regardless of who had them. That is how you can develop your intelligence. The same idea can be said and repeated by all kinds of people. And permanently attributing an idea to just one person is a mistake in rational thinking. You're transferring the author's moral attributes to their idea. That is even worse, and as will not allow you to examine that idea rationally. People often use the name of the author of an idea in public speaking to be more persuasive and impactful. Sometimes a public speaker can look for more popular people to quote them as a tool to have more impact with their speeches. I did that more than 4 years ago in my video, How to Learn Anything Difficult. I quoted Thomas Edison when I was speaking about the idea that in order to achieve something worthwhile, one needs to have hard work, have persistence, and also need common sense. And for some people who consider Edison to be an entrepreneur, an inventor with authority, mentioning his name can make the argument about hard work and persistence and common sense actually like a stronger argument. But maybe I could have conveyed the very same idea even better without mentioning Thomas Edison's name. Some people simply stop paying attention to the whole argument of the entire video just because they consider Edison to be a bad person. In this case, when the authors of impactful quotes are bad people, it is a waste of time to keep on listening to the rest of the argument, right? The name of an awful person acts kind of like a shortcut to decide to simply stop listening. Now here the problem is not the idea itself, but perhaps it is the act of quoting people who are considered to be awful. And this is a shortcut that is used to be able to make a decision quickly. It is also called a heuristic. The human brain has basically two modes of thought. There's a fast mode and a slow mode. The fast mode is always looking for shortcuts to make decisions, so we can save a lot of time, but it's also prone to a lot of error. Meanwhile, the slow mode requires to do a lot of analysis in order to make a decision. That allows us to reason more clearly, but it is also a greater time investment. Speakers who are using the names of celebrities and quotes of famous authors, they're trying to basically communicate with you in a fast mode. So then you can quickly agree with them because of the merits of the person, not necessarily the quality of the idea itself. That is why I've decided to reduce the amount of times that I am mentioning names here whenever I'm sharing different ideas with you. I want you to be exercising your habit of examining ideas themselves. And not just because you like or you dislike the person who helped to spread that idea. Trying to invalidate an argument on account of the traits of the person who made that argument is a huge intellectual limitation. Just like great people can have awful ideas, awful people can also have excellent ideas. That is why, if you want to increase your intelligence levels, you need to understand how to separate the context, how to separate ideas from people. That is the process of intelligence development, which involves learning to find sources and not mixing the quality of certain ideas about the personal aspect, the person who became known for spreading that idea. You see, human beings are flawed. No one can maintain a perfect reputation if someone decides to analyze the person's whole life. We all make mistakes, often serious mistakes, but that does not invalidate all of our ideas, all the work that we did throughout our lives. Now, for example, what do you think about the following idea? Words build bridges to unexplored regions. It sounds like a good thought, right? Words, conversation, the exchange of ideas. It can solve problems, can build great relationships where there used to be nothing. Do you know who said it? Adolf Hitler. Yes, I'm taking the most extreme case, so you can see that even hateful people can provide ideas, arguments, examples that we can learn something from. Despising someone's whole legacy because of one mistake is depreciating the social and the individual value of work. In the episode 240 of the Hello, Seiiti Arata series, we talked about the problem of living in a time of extremes. In this moment of polarization, highly stimulated by the algorithms that are mediating our social conversations, we tend to go for all or nothing. One moment, someone is seen as a genius, as an innovator, as a great human being. And then someone discovers that that person made a mistake, they messed up, they maybe even committed a crime. And because of that, everything that that person created, produced, left as a legacy is automatically thrown away into the rubbish bin. In the study of logic, this even has a name. It is an ad hominem attack. It is a fallacy that takes place when someone responds to an argument with negative criticism against the author of that comment and not against the content of the idea itself. It doesn't matter if that person created thousands of jobs, generated wealth, invented useful things that make our life easier. Because of a specific event, well, everything that that person did suddenly becomes intolerable, despicable. And even the ones that just quote the person also run the risk of also being despised by the canceling court. A court that gives a verdict in a matter of seconds, many times just by reading only the headlines, and do not confer the right to defense, do not want to know the details of the case. Mark Zuckerberg was praised as a child prodigy when he invented Facebook. His website allowed us to speak to distant family members, to friends that we had lost contact with. It allowed us to share moments and photos and videos, emotions. He created one of the most valuable companies of all time and generated thousands of jobs in several countries around the world, creating a whole social media market that barely existed before. Zuckerberg has already donated millions of dollars to nonprofit organizations. He publicly announced he would be transferring 99% of Meta company shares to charities. Just that would mean a fortune, about $50 billion. And even so, most people on the internet today see Mark Zuckerberg as like an evil businessman who just wants to spy on our lives, to be selling us ads and manipulating our desires and even manipulating the elections in some countries. So due to the mistakes that Zuckerberg has made, people belittle everything else that he does. They go as far as to despise the people who use Facebook as an example for something. Even if you do not like the mistakes that were made by Mark Zuckerberg or Thomas Edison, it is still important to distinguish the person, the author, from their work. It is necessary to separate people from ideas. Stop limiting your own intelligence. Learn that there can be good things about supposedly bad people. When you despise the work, the ideas, or the examples of someone just because of a specific mistake, or even because of a series of mistakes, you're limiting your intelligence. Now, please be careful and do not mix fast and slow modes of thinking. And if you are more radical and you start disregarding those who quote supposedly bad people, you're taking that limitation to an extreme. If that is your case, you're adopting a dangerous radicalism that can limit your intelligence to only those who think exactly like you. Our mind expands in diversity. If you open your mind to receive good examples, even from bad people, you will be able to increase your intelligence levels much faster. And why do I say supposedly bad people? Because actually no one is totally good or totally bad. Every person has a lot of qualities and a lot of flaws. An intelligent person is fully aware of this and knows how to separate the good parts from the bad parts, to absorb the best and repel, filter the worst. And that is why, instead of jumping to judge in a radical way, be more intelligent. Those individuals that you consider bad people can give you good ideas, examples, and arguments. You just need to be open to absorb the good things that they have to offer you, while you also learn not to fall into the same mistakes that they made. Trying to invalidate an argument on the basis of personal traits of the author of an idea or example is a huge intellectual limitation. An inspiring quote might have come from an assassin or a saint. So you need to tell people and ideas apart. And when you do that, you open your mind to absorbing good ideas, arguments, and examples from people that you consider bad. That is like removing a barrier that exists and limits your intelligence and allowing yourself to even learn from people that you used to completely dismiss. If you're interested in increasing your intelligence levels in that way, I invite you to now get to know Arata Academy's intelligence course by visiting arata.se/intelligence.